Okay, this is the new tester that just came in the mail today, a t668d from Sunko. I've just tested it up in the house with a lithium battery, 3.7 volt, 18650. Seems to work fine with that. We're now down here with the mountain of nickel metal hydride batteries. This bunch of individual cells here was a pack that I started to take apart earlier for testing to see if I could figure out why it was such a high resistance. And so I've swapped them all around at the moment, so the positives on one side, negatives on the other side, just for ease of testing. So we're going to start here, first time, see what happens. The alligator clips are a bit on the small side, but looks like they'll probably work okay. So, and this is a powered unit, which is the advantage to this, because the other tester that we have been using, which is a great tester, does cold cranking amps and stuff as well as internal resistance, but it only works on batteries of 8 volts or higher. This one will work on individual cells. And so you can see here from that display, hopefully you can see, that's 1.292 volts. It's presently charging, I think, at 20 milliamps, but I'm not totally sure about that mode of operation. But I got it in the 2 amp mode. I'm going to switch it over to nickel hydride or nickel batteries. That's still giving us the voltage. This is the R0 button to get the impedance. Oh, and there we go. That's interesting. That's 6 milliohms. So that's an interesting number. Let's go to the next cell. And let's go back to voltage. No, there we go, back to voltage. This one's 1.239. Oh, and it's interesting. It's because I put it on the discharge mode. See, it seems like it toggles back and forth. So I'm going to turn the power off, turn it back on, because it's got a amp hour capacity mode, and it seems like once you turn that on, it cycles until it figures out what's going on. So I don't want to do that. 1.25 volts. Get a resistance. Well, that's interesting. That one seems to be 0. Let's just, nickel metal hydride. Let's just run that again. There we go, 6 milliohms. So I was just wiggling the leads to get a better connection. So indeed in the manual, for what it is, does say make sure the contacts are clean. So there's another one at 6 milliohms. Let's make sure we're getting a good connection here again. And wiggle that on there. That one on there. Wiggle that on there on the thread. And let's press that 5,535. So that certainly doesn't seem like a good number. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Let's wiggle that. Let's wiggle that. Try that again. 5,535. So there's 2 that are acting odd. So let's keep going. Three. This was a defective battery. Let's go back to one of the ones we just tested to see whether or not there's a reset thing going on here. This one we know was at 6 ohms. 7. So it doesn't need to be reset. So indeed, several of those are pretty bad, or measuring something. Let's too early to tell whether they're bad, but certainly I do know that this cell, this module was bad. So let's just run that again. 5.3, interesting. So that one seems to be 0. Let's just make sure we got a good connection here. 0, so I don't know what that means. Let's turn that off. Turn it back on. Oh, it also has no volts in it. So that battery is dead, voltage-wise. Possibly self-discharged, I suppose. That one is also dead. And so possibly dead batteries give us a very high or no impedance. It's just, yeah, so that's interesting. So power off, power back on. 12.250 with a resistance of 2 milliohms. Maybe not as reliable as we like to think. Oh, 6 milliohms. So interesting. Okay. Okay, we're moving to what we've been referring to as the blacktop batteries. And interestingly enough, for the first time I've just noticed that somebody has written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on these cells. That wasn't me. So somebody's obviously been looking at these at one time in the past. And anyway, so we're going to test these again. I think that these are at least partially charged, but I don't know that because I pulled it out of the car. After I put them in and pulled it out because it was reduced capacity. So 1.323 volts, 8 milliohms, so that's a little high. $18 milliohms, very high. $19 seems to be consistent. Let's just get a voltage here. Oh, it's also very low voltage, 1 volt. So that's interesting. That one was 1 point something. This one is lower. That's 1.3 volts. So that's interesting from knowing that this battery wasn't working well. That one is a lower voltage and a higher impedance. 7 milliohms, according to that. I'm going to wear out that on-off button. I can see that. 1.389 volts. 18 milliohms. Let's just try that again. 19 milliohms, so whatever that means. $12 milliohms. .34, 9 milliohms. Nine milliohms. 17 milliohms, 16, 14, 1.335 volts, 1.1415, 9 milliohms, 1 volt, 15 milliohms. Well, seems to tell us something. What I'll have to do is find a good battery out of the original ones from my car and test that. Back later.